I have so much to ask you. I'm going to start with, you grew up in a famously dramatic family, right?
Yes.
I think your father, John Mortimer, was an eminent barrister and a writer.
Yes.
What was dinner like at your house?
At the weekends, there were guests and people and a whole lot of commotion and big Sunday lunches and lots of different people, actors and writers. And it was both incredibly exciting and also kind of quite frightening. I can remember David Niven came when I was a little girl and did magic tricks.
How do you think that affected you?
Well, I was always, I just came out shy. I've just been a shy person. But it always felt such an important part of life, being with friends and guests, but also slightly sort of nerve-wracking and thrilling in some ways.
One thing I think we have in common is we're both kind of shy and yet we're willing to jump off a cliff. Why do you think that is?
Well, I feel like it's almost the only way to survive. Like, if you have to do the most scary thing, otherwise you wouldn't do anything at all. Also, I find that you do your best stuff when you're scared. Yeah.
So you definitely jumped off a cliff when you started directing.
I was nervous because although I've been on a million sets my whole life and I've seen lots of people from Martin Scorsese to Woody Allen to Rob Marshall, of course, but I had never done it. And I was nervous that because I'm bad at telling people what to do. I'm nervous about sort of being direct and saying, please do this, please do that. Yeah. But I think it was about not being in the spotlight, but being behind the camera, I found so amazing, freeing, and then it really does just become about telling the story.
I think that we each want to do the thing that we lose ourselves in.
Yes.
Is that the way you feel about acting and cooking, right?
Yes, I totally do, yeah. I didn't ever really train professionally as an actor, and I couldn't believe it when you said the same thing about you.
I didn't train at all. So I didn't work in a restaurant. I've never been to cooking school. But I think that for me, I connect with the reader because it's not about making some pavlova or a cassoulet. It's just, you just want a really good, simple meal.
I don't know whether you remember this, but you absolutely saved one of my big dinner parties. The last time that we met, I was about to have a birthday party for my best friend Dolly, and I said, "Tell me, what should I cook for 20 people I'd invited?"
What did I tell you?
You told me the fillet of beef and basil mayonnaise.
Basil mayonnaise,
and Emily's roast potatoes.
Yeah.
And the broccolini, the roasted
which is
broccolini.
so easy.
And it was the most sensational. I can't tell
so
you.
Glad.
And it was, I've never had so many compliments.
So why did you decide to become an actress?
I think I just had always a very sort of vivid imagination. I was an only child until my sister was born when I was 12, so I had a quite a solitary childhood. So I would wander around the sort of English countryside pretending to be all these kind of characters on my own, yeah. One of my early characters that I would be was a television chef, but she was based on Delia Smith, who was our...
You're Julia Childs,
yes,
basically.
our Julia Childs, yeah. And I would stand behind the kitchen table and measure out all the little ingredients.
You did your own show?
I did my own show. And so it was a big part of sort of working out that I liked sort of performing or play acting.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
My dad was a writer, but he was also a criminal defense barrister.
Very famous.
He had a sort of attitude to life that informed both his work as a criminal defense barrister, but also as a writer, where he was just supremely unjudgmental, and so he would say things like, you could be a good person and kill someone and a terrible person and never get a parking ticket your whole life. Like, and actually he liked murderers. Murderers were his favorite clients.
Why?
Well, first of all, they couldn't get to the telephone. He said the worst clients are divorcing couples because they're ringing you all through the night saying, you'll never guess what he's done now. He wants the toaster or he wants custody of the dog, and whereas murderers
they're stuck in
prison, so they can't get to the telephone. But also he would say that everybody deserves the right to a fair trial, that's one of the tenets of sort of civilization.
What are you working on now?
So I'm writing a movie about my time in Russia. I spent a gap year, a very formative gap year, in 1989 when I was 17, turning 18. It's during the beginning of Glasnost, just as the Berlin Wall was coming down. I went to Moscow and I had the most amazing experience, and I had this this sort of wonderful, crazy romance with this Russian poet called Denis. So I'm writing a screenplay about that time and about Russia at that time. And
so it's a fictional character based on your experience set in that time?
Yes,
oh,
yes,
how amazing.
Yes. It's hard writing. Writing is hard because you're on your own from morning till night, and you can't tell whether it's any good. And it's lonely, and it's not the same as, you know, acting and directing. You're forced into the world, but I hope it's okay. We'll see.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So should we cook together?
Yes, please.
So you're going to make Yorkshire pudding.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you how to make a brunch board that requires no cooking at all.
Well, I really need to learn how to make brunch, because whenever people come for brunch, I just panic and over-cater madly. It's like buffet at the Four Seasons, and everybody's overwhelmed. So I think I need to be taught how to do a kind of simple, nice brunch. So
I'm going to show you a really simple one.
Good. Thank you.
Even better.